Why are we not getting in formation? The rest of my head is in formation, but you in the back, you think just because I can't see you, you don't have to get in formation? Like, what are we doing? What is up, Flockers? That is my fellow Lockers and aspiring Lockers. There are some things that I really hate about my locks that I need to go ahead and get off my chest so that I don't go crazy. So stick around so you can hear about those. Alright, that might have been a little bit of a dramatic intro. Hate is a very strong word, and even with my own children, I try to find synonyms for the word hate because I feel like if you hate something, it's some deep-rooted stuff. And I have anything but hate for my locks. But there are some things about my locks that I would change if I could, or that I'm not too fond about, and I wanted to go ahead and shed some light on those and share those today. I think a lot of times when people come on here, you see the good about their locks, and from afar you're like, oh my gosh, your locks are amazing, you're my lock crush, I love your locks, they look amazing, they look great, they look full, and all that may be true, but sometimes when you get up close and get into the nitty gritty of it, you're like, oh, okay, so you do have some issues with your locks too, or oh, there are some things about your locks that you're insecure about or that you don't like. So let's get into those. So the first thing about my locks that I guess if I could change, or that I'm a little insecure about, would be the area of thinning. And honestly, from the last time that I showed this area on my channel, I do feel like the thinning in my hair has gotten smaller, that area has reduced, and that it is getting better, that hair is growing back in those areas. And I think that's in part to do with a lot of the different regimens that I've implemented, from scalp massages to the shampoo and conditioner that I'm using, to oils that I'm using on my scalp and whatnot, to even diet changes and exercise and things like that. So maybe one day I will make a specific video on that and just kind of the journey of hair restoration in that area. But that is something that has definitely been a thorn in my eye, or a spot literally, that just brings insecurity. I'm a pretty tall guy, and so most people don't see it unless I'm sitting down in a lower position than them. But it's something that I am aware of, and honestly, it's not from traction, it's not from having locks, it's not from retightening too often or too tight. It has been there since I was a teenager, and in that area, I had some type of breakout on my scalp. I don't know if it was hormones or if it was stress induced because I was in college, like a freshman, sophomore in college, but my scalp would literally break out all the time in that area. And the same thing happened to my father, and he has hair loss in that area. So it might just be a genetic thing that's hereditary, but nonetheless, like I said, it seems like it's getting better and that the hair seems to have started growing back in a little bit. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm ready to braid it down in that area, but there is some peach fuzz and it is filling in, and I feel like that spot is smaller significantly than it was before when I showed it maybe 6 or 7 months ago. And the second thing that I am not even insecure about, but just something that irks me and bothers me about my locks, and it is something that I'm going to have to get up close and very personal with the camera in order to try and show it to you, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to show it in the way that I can feel it myself. It may not look as bad as it feels, but something that you may have heard other YouTubers with locks talk about is when you have hair that either grows with the lock or hair that grows outside of the lock. And for the most part, I would say that the hair on my head tends to grow with the lock, and I don't have a ton of hair. I'm 3 weeks out from a fresh retie, so there is some new growth, not anything crazy or anything like that, but there's a little bit of new growth. So you can see that I don't really have a ton of hairs, you know, not going with the lock. But for whatever reason, in the back of my head, where not in the crown area, but lower, I guess that's where the softest texture of my hair is, it is like crazy town back there. I have literal afro puffs that are outside of the lock that for whatever reason, they just refuse to grow in with the lock. And the only thing I've been able to do to combat that is, I think I have some up here, the loose one kind of, so I can try to illustrate. Let me see if I can find it. But the only thing that I can do to combat that is just to take the hair and wrap it around the lock, especially when before I do my retie, I will take the hairs. I mean, I have some up here, but it's nothing crazy. But I'll take the hairs and I'll just simply wrap them around the lock before I go in for a retie, or even on a day when I'm not retying, just so that it's wrapped around. But let me see if I can show you in the back what I'm talking about, and you'll see, because like I said, up here, I don't have that issue at all. Nowhere on these locks am I having an extreme area where the hair is growing outside of the lock. But in the back, it's almost like I've got this extreme amount of frizziness at the base of my lock or at my roots, where it seems like there's more hair outside of the lock than that's inside of the lock. But I'm not worried about it because this hair is not meshing together to the point where I'm having to constantly pull it apart, or where it's causing locks to merge, or where it's causing any type of discomfort or anything like that, or even where the locks are becoming thin or changing the integrity of the lock. It's just something that annoys me, that I'm just like, why can't you, why you gotta be different, you know? Why can't you get in line? Did you not hear Beyonce's song? Like, why are we not getting in formation? The rest of my head is in formation, but you in the back, you think just because I can't see you, you don't have to get in formation? Like, what are we doing? So let me see if I can show you that. So in the back, as you see, again, 3 weeks. It's only been 3 weeks since the back has been retied, but we have large amounts of just loose hair. You see that? Just, this is all in this section right here, while we have chunks of loose hair like that just come undone. And no matter how many times I wrap it around the lock and retie my hair, it keeps coming undone. It refuses to grow in with the lock. And this is the only spot on my head that's like this. Doesn't do this on the front, doesn't do it on the sides, the top, but in the back, right in this small little section right here, well, it's a large section, but almost every lock has a ton of frizz and hairs that just grow outside of the lock and do not try to be a part of the... It's like when you got a family and they just don't want to be a part of the family. Like, we've invited you to the cookout, but you still don't want to come. What is going on? They don't want to be a part of the family. So, all jokes aside, like I said, I don't hate anything about my locks. I love them. Even the trouble areas and the things, I still embrace it and I love it. There are, I mean, things that I wish weren't there, but they are. And, you know, I'm not insecure to the point where I'm like, I'm ready to end my lock journey or throw on a hat or something to cover it up, because it's not that bad. But it is something that I am cognizant of, something that I'm aware of, and something that I do pay attention to, I guess, on a regular basis. I don't know, maybe some of you have some similar experience. Maybe you have some tips that you can give me. So make sure to drop down in the comment section below if you have any tips that you can give me for this, or if you have had your own similar experience, let me know about it. Do you have a spot where you have thinning? Have you had any hair restoration in that area? Or do you have hair that grows outside of the lock and is just unruly and refuses to come to the family reunions no matter how many times you invite it? If you found this video at all helpful and informative, please make sure to hit that like button and also hit the subscribe button so that you can join the flock. And before you go anywhere, make sure to click on one of these other videos that has popped up. I'll see you there.